Rooted Podcasters, back with another episode of Rooted. I've thought a long time about what I might explore on this episode, and there's a lot of topics that could be covered. But I feel like over the last several months, especially, I've been asked several times what I thought about the election and what I thought about what was now the inauguration and what did I think about the state of this country and how did I feel about our newest president. And I could definitely spend some time sharing my thoughts about that, but I really want to focus more on what do we do overall when it comes to being in community together. What does that interdependence, that beauty that centers humanity and belonging, the opportunity to be a good neighbor, to support and help people in need, to move with a sense of urgency when we find something that is happening that is unjust or inappropriate or unkind or disrespectful or gaslighting. What does it look like now? I think that is such a better use of time. I was telling my colleague a couple of months ago that hope for me has become a duty. Now that might sound all idealistic and woo-woo, but you know what I realized is hope is a duty. And hope is the hardest thing sometimes to have. It's the real work. It's the dig down deep. It's not surface. It's actually really hard in a space where you have repeatedly felt devalued and frankly scared in some instances for your life. And usually the conversation that occurs for me and many other women of color is this idea of resilience. How we are just supposed to fight through and be okay. I looked up the formal definition of resilience, and resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. I find it interesting how people want to assert that that's a strategy for me when I wake up every day with the opportunity to be resilient in ways that people probably don't always understand. And yet and still, at the intersection of what can only be described as a really challenging and odd time, I still lean in on hope. I still lean in on the interdependence of community. I still lean in on belonging, whether it's a formal program in an organization or a mandate. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The very energy that we use to criticize and to find fault with and to be horrified by and appalled and offended by is the very energy that we need to harness our unique gifts, our talents, our core values, our grace, our mercy, our forgiveness, our patience. Now, my strategy could be totally wrong, but I know one thing for sure, that even in my righteous anger, when I stay there, it activates a deregulated state in my brain that doesn't allow me to make room for other perspectives. It doesn't make room for me to really get in a space of thinking about what I think and why. So I'm angry, I'm upset, but I've worked to not stay there because for me, it doesn't serve me well. So many people have asked me, what can we do? The first is stop those crocodile tears of guilt. No more time for that. You cannot see the path forward if your eyes are wet with tears. Stop demanding that women and people of color be resilient and strong. We literally invented strength. Figure out what it looks and sounds like to be a community member of support, a community member of assistance, a community member of grace, a community member that moves with a sense of urgency when there is something that you have that can be valuable and helpful to someone else's existence. I have found that I've had to reimagine what the next several years especially will look like for me. And I've determined that peace is not negotiable, and I get to tap out on strength when I need to in the name of restoration and rejuvenation. I get to lean in on the source and my divine skill set and talents and gifting in ways that strengthen my community and don't harm my community. You know, historically, we've always relied on community, but somewhere along the way, we have managed to mess that up as well. Community should be a source of strength and revival for us, not a place where we fight and criticize, hurt and harm, maim and detach from each other. I wonder, with all the disparity, with the new report that shows that the stress and anxiety level of Black women who have to endure microaggressions and injustice on a regular basis are having autoimmune issues and cancer and all these things. What would it look like if we worried less about those that we oppose and leaned into each other with a broader understanding of what it means to love thy neighbor? Y'all, I'm so tired of trying to have to prove it and explain it and make people understand. I don't even care if you understand anymore. What I do know is that we have a responsibility and we are accountable to our kids to hand off to them something that isn't fractured and trauma-filled. We have an obligation and an opportunity to hand off to our youth a strong, inclusive, honorable community filled with integrity and kindness and compassion and a deep surrender to ego. We've got to stop being quiet around the picnic table and the boardrooms and the city hall meetings and lift our voices individually and collectively for a more humane, human-centered, deeply compassionate, vulnerable, and honest way of being. Have I said anything that's new? I haven't. Are we behaving in a way that is a dismissive, disorienting, challenging, abrasive, aggressive, and disrespectful manner, you betcha. There is an invitation on the table right now for us to work on ourselves in such a way that when we step into spaces, we are making an intentional effort to bring the best version of ourselves forward. We have an opportunity to be in a community where we love each other in public and we lovingly course correct in private, because our motive is that we see the God in each other. We see the divinity in each other. We see the potential to grow in each other. That we don't just passively sit by and not call each other in to this invitation of community. We are not designed to go forth separately. We are supposed to be doing this thing together. Open minds, open hearts, and feet that walk toward each other to hug and heal and not to harm. So I ask you, are you part of the problem by way of your lack of courage, your silence, your dismissiveness, and your decision that because you don't think it impacts you, that you don't have to care? Or are you going to be part of the collective healing, the collective growing, the collective nurturing and planting and watering and tilling the soil, the collective around allowing for the seasons of change to come in a way that sees everybody, that honors the journey of everybody, that supports everyone, whether we agree or not. The fight that we must have, it's within ourselves. It's not each other. The role we need to take is not adversary. It's accountable community member. The path forward is not supposed to be separate, but together in collective strength. So what do I think about the current administration? It doesn't matter. I will be here at the beginning of that administration, and I will be here after that administration, and so will you. How are you going to use your time, your precious energy, your brain cells? How are you going to use it? Are you going to use it to build bricks, to build by brick, by brick, by brick? Or are you going to be throwing darts and tearing down? We can take those bricks and build something beautiful. But if there is healing to do, if there are hard conversations to have, if there are calling in of leaders to be done, if there is trust to be rededicated to, if there is a collective exhale that needs to happen, if there are things that we need to let go so we can pick up new things, I am respectfully asking you to get busy. There is so much work to do. And we have a right to do that work together, healthy, and whole, regardless. Rooted Podcasters, this is a place where you come to reflect on what you think about what you think, to call in and out the story about the stories we tell ourselves so that we can be committed to being right instead of being committed to community. It is my hope that you will think about whatever playbook you need to put in place. Therapy, journaling, a sabbatical, and deep self-reflection, so that these next iterations of community are unstoppable, serve as a change agent for good, and see each individual as a person with something to contribute. Rooted Podcasters, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time.